Alright, we are on exercise 4, number 1. It says use the formula on blah 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 blah. The rectangular long jump pile at the school is 2.75 meters wide and 9 meters long and is filled with sand. Number 1.1. Calculate the volume of sand needed to fill the long jump pit to a depth of 0.07 meters. Great. Now, first up, let's write down everything that we have. So we have a pit that's 2.75. I might just actually draw this real quick. We have a long jump pit that is 2.75 meters by 9 meters by 0.07. To work out volume, all that we need to do is use the volume formula. In this case, volume equals length times breadth times height. Length is obviously 9 meters, breadth is 2.75 meters, and the height is 0.07. And if we type that exactly as is into a calculator, you'll see that we end up with 1.7325 cubic meters, right, of sand. Essentially what this 3 at the top means is that we're working with 3 numbers, right? 9, 2.75 and 0.07. That's all that means. So to fill this entire area with sand, we would need 1.7325 cubic meters of sand. Now, by 1.2, they ask you, well, first of all, let's quickly read through it together. Calculate the cost of filling the sand pit to 95% of its volume. If sand costs 129 Rand and 95 cents per bag, and bags are sold in volumes of 0.5 cubic meters. So, a lot of information. First up, let's only work with the 1.7325 cubic meters that we just calculated. So I'm just quickly going to write that down. 1.7325 cubic meters. And the rest I'm going to erase. Now, they say, or they ask you, you do not need to fill the entire pit with sand, right? They are specifically for 95% of this. So what we're going to do is just round this number up to 2 decimal places, and we're going to work with 1.73 cubic meters, right? Instead of 1.7325. It might just make our life a little bit easier. Now, they asked to fill this up to 95% capacity. So, if this is 100%, all that we need to do is calculate what is 95% of 1.73. And to do that, we're going to put 95 over 100, which is 0.95. And we're going to multiply that by 1.73, and that gives us 1.73 times 0.95 1.634 cubic meters, right? So 95% of 1.73 is 1.634. So we're not going to work with 1.73 anymore, seeing as though they don't want to fill the entire pit, They just want to fill 95% of it, so I'm going to replace this number with 1.634 cubic meters, which I'm then going to round up to 2 decimal places, which is 1.63 cubic meters, and we're going to work with that from now on. Now they ask you, in the same question, how many bags would you need to fold that up? So what we now need to do is see how much area or how much volume one bag can cover. And we can obviously see that one bag fills up 0.75 cubic meters. So all that we need to do is, let's just quickly go back here. All that we now need to do is take the volume that we have, which is 1.63, and divide that by the amount that one bag fills up, which is 0.75. Right, this just means divide. So 1.63 divided by 0.75, and this will give us the total amount of bags that we need to fill up the pit. Right? So let me just quickly grab a calculator. 1.63 divided by 0.75 equals 2.17 blah blah blah, 2.17 dot 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 dot. Now, can we buy part of a bag? No. If we only buy 2 bags, we're going to have too little sand to fill up 95%. So what we're going to do is round this entire thing up to 3 bags. Because 2 bags is too little, 3 bags is a bit more, or too much. So we'd rather have 3 bags and have extra sand left than buying 2 bags and not having enough sand. Now, seeing as though we know that we have 3 bags, all that we now need to do is go and check the price per bag, which is $129.95. And multiply that by the amount of bags that we have, which is 3. So we're going to have the price for 1 bag of sand times 3. In which case, it's 129.95 times 3, and we're going to end up with 389.85. 389 and 85 cents. So to fill up 95% of the sand pit, we're going to need 3 bags, not 2, because we have more, or we need more than 2. So we're going to round up to 3. 3 bags that each cost $129.95, and that gives us a total of $389.85. Okay, the next question that we will be handling is on area, surface, and perimeter, and we're going to look at number 2. Number 2 says the groundsman needs to mow the lawn with a big tractor type lawnmower. The width of the cutter is 1.5 meters, and he mows back and forth parallel to the width of the field as shown alongside. 2.1. How far does the groundsman travel when he covers the field exactly once, assuming that his paths do not overlap? Right. First thing that we need to do is go and calculate how many trips does it take to cover the entire field, right? So what I'm going to do is just very quickly and primitively draw this field that he needs to cover, right? Which is 120 meters by 100 meters. They now say that for every time he goes one direction, he covers 1.5 meters. So if he starts over here and he drives all the way to the top, he would have covered 1.5 meters. Now he's over here. He turns around. Oops. Excuse me. He turns around and now he's going this way and he covers another 1.5 meters. Right, so each time that he changes direction, he covers 100 meters, right? That he moved forward. So if he starts over here and he drives all the way up, he would have covered 100 meters. And then if he turns around and he comes all the way back down, he would have covered 100 once, 100 twice. So 200 meters. So the way that we're going to calculate this is first of all check how many passes or how many times does he need to turn around to fill this entire field. And then we're going to take the number of times that he changed directions and just multiply it by 100, right? So what we're going to do is take 120, divide by 1.5, and you'll see that that ends up as 120 divided by 1.5. So he does 80 turns, 80 passes, right? So essentially, this just means that I needed to draw 80 arrows going up and down, right? He goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way to 80. Now that we know he had 80 passes, all that we need to do is multiply this by 100 meters. Because for one pass, for one arrow, he travels 100 meters. So we're going to have 80 multiplied by 100, and that's obviously 8,000 meters, or then 8 kilometers, if you were to convert that. And that's the end of the question. 2.2. The tractor pulling the cutter travels at 1.8 meters per second. How long will it take the groundsman to cut the grass? Give your answers in minutes and seconds. Okay. First up, what we need to do is check how long it's going to take him to cut the entire lawn in seconds. And then we're just going to convert it to minutes and seconds. So what we need to do, first up, is go back to our diagram and check how much distance So first what we're going to do is just go back to the diagram and look at the amount of meters that it needs to cover, which was 8,000, and divide that by 1.8, right? Because it covers 1.8 meters per second. In other words, if I go back over here, let's forget about the 8 kilometers for a minute. He covers 8,000 meters just by going up and down this field, right? I'm just going to write it down over here, 8,000 meters. All that we're going to do is divide this by 1.8 meters per second, and you will get your answer in seconds. So if I just quickly grab my calculator and we say 8,000 divided by 1.8, you'll see that it has 4,444.44 seconds. Now, seeing as we only need to answer in seconds and minutes, I'm going to get rid of all of the numbers behind the comma, and you'll see that he takes 4,444 seconds to cover the entire field. Now, we know that there are 60 seconds in 1 minute. So what we want to do is check how many times 60 can go into 4,444. And the easiest way to do that is just to say 4,444 divided by 60. And you'll end up with 74 point what. So 74 minutes. But we obviously can't write that 0 what because that doesn't make any sense. So how many seconds are in 74 minutes? Easy. 74 times 60. 4,440. Easy. So 4,440 seconds in 74 minutes. And what stays left? 4 seconds. 4,444 minus 4,440 just gives you 4 seconds. So for this person to mow this entire field, it would take him 74 minutes and 4 seconds. Right, question number 3. It still has to do with perimeter area and surface area, but now we get to do with volume. Right, so question number 3 says, Roscoe was given a cooler bag for his birthday. The label on the bag says that it has a capacity of 26 liters. 3.1. If 1 liter equals to 1,000 cubic centimeters, convert 26 liters to cubic centimeters. Right, so what they tell you, I'm just going to write it down, is that 1 liter is 1,000 cubic centimeters. In other words, if we want to convert 26 liters, all that we need to do is ask ourselves, how did we go from 1 to 26, right? And you'll see that we just multiplied it by 26. And we're going to do the exact same on this side. So 1,000 times 26. And you'll see that that comes out to 26,000 cubic centimeters. As easy as that. For 3.2, they say use your previous answer to calculate the breadth of the cooler bag if the volume of the rectangular prism is calculated from the formula length times breadth times height. So what I'm going to do is just very quickly draw this picture, which is 40 centimeters by 25 centimeters. So they say that the height is 40 centimeters, the depth is 25, and we now want to know what the breadth is, right? So we know that volume is calculated by having length times breadth times height. We already now have 2 of the 3 values that we need, right? Length is 40, breadth we need to go and calculate, or excuse me, length is 25. Breadth we don't have, right? So we're going to go and calculate that now. Multiplied by height, which is 40, right? This is all in centimeters. So if we have a number, right, volume, and to calculate volume, we take 3 numbers and multiply them by each other. If we now have one missing number, all that we're going to do is go and calculate, or well, using the previous answer, which was 26,000, right? 26,000 is the volume, the total volume of this cooler bag. So we're just going to replace the volume V with the number that we just calculated in the previous question. So 26,000 cubic centimeters is 25 times something times 40. So to work out this missing number, all that we're going to do is swap it up, right? So we have the missing number equals, we're going to take this amount and pull it to the right hand side, and we're going to have 26,000 divided by 25 divided by 40. And that will give us our breadth. So, just going to use my calculator over here. 26,000 divided by 25 divided by 40. And you'll see that we end up with 26. So 26 centimeters. If we now fill in this formula again, we'll have 25 times 26 times 40, and that will give us the volume for the cooler bag.